Hey everybody, Jacob the Animation Critic back from my sugar crash to bring you another great review. Okay, bear with me on this one, guys. What if James Bond was a frog? If you think that's the stupidest premise you've ever heard in your life, guess what? That's the movie we're going to be reviewing today. And considering it's Thanksgiving, what better way to celebrate an American holiday than with a film from the UK? And that movie is Freddie as F.R.O.7. Now I know what you're all thinking. How the hell does a frog become a secret agent anyway? Well, it turned out that the frog, named Freddie, was originally a prince living in medieval England. Not only that, but he and his family were blessed with the ability to perform magic. Yeah, because people in medieval times were so accepting of magic and witchcraft that they were willing to live under the rule of those who used it. Isn't that right, Frollo? But they're not the only ones who use magic, as does Freddie's evil Aunt Messina. She, much like any other sibling of royalty, decides to take the throne from her brother, and does so by transforming into a cobra, scaring the horse he's riding, and sending him falling off a cliff to his death. So that would make Messina queen, right? Well, sort of. While Messina is technically the new queen, she may only keep the throne until Freddie is old enough to take over. So what's the logical thing to do? Turn back into a cobra, attack Freddie, and turn him into a frog? Hello? Why doesn't Messina just use her magic to instantly kill Freddie? We later see him escape from her clutches, so if he killed him right on the spot, she wouldn't have to go through all this trouble. And for that matter, why doesn't Freddie just use his magic to change back into normal, or even protect himself from Messina's magic? This movie could be over in milliseconds if somebody used their magic properly. Anyway, Messina ends up chasing Freddie into the ocean where he's supposedly eaten by a giant lake monster. Messina tries to escape but gets caught in a whirlpool, which she eventually makes out of, but not before giving this little speech.
You little ugly frog, one day I will catch up with you and destroy you like I did your father and your mother, and then I shall be all powerful. I shall rule the world.
So it turns out that Freddie was saved by the giant monster named Nessie, and after Freddie uses his magic to get her stuck tail out from under a giant rock, she takes him back to dry land and promises to aid him in a time of need. This does raise some concerns, though, as to what a Scottish monster he's doing in France, but hey, if we count all the plot holes in this movie, we'll lose count in less than 10 seconds. So, instead of doing something silly like, I don't know, using his magic to turn himself back into normal and going ham on his aunt, Freddie finds a bunch of other frogs and decides to live among them. Eventually, Freddie not only manages to live for hundreds of years, seriously, what the hell, I thought he was a wizard, not a friggin' god, but he also manages to grow back to the size of a human. Why? He is my father. Good God, Gary Oldman is a better singer than you hokey croaky toads. Being too live to live among the other frogs, Freddie, now played by Ben Kingsley, gets a job as a member of the French Secret Service known as Agent F.R.O.7. Get it? It's a James Bond joke. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the channel, the great landmarks of England are quite literally vanishing into thin air, much to the distress of the head of the British Secret Service, played by Nigel Hawthorne.
In Hollywood? Hey, Daddy-O! The Tower of London is gone! What you gonna do about it, huh? Come on, tell me what you gonna do about it!
Jesus, and they see the crows from Dumbo are racist. These guys pretty much just begged the KKK to show up. Having little options left, the French send over their finest agent to solve the case, who just so happens to be, you guessed it, Freddie.
But you're a frog.
What? That's your reaction? He's a giant frog. If I were you, I would have gone into a 7-week coma. Oh well, at least he actually had some form of concern, as Freddie is later introduced to his partners, one of which, a martial arts expert named Daffers, yes, that is her name, appears to become immediately attracted to our main character, and considering he's a giant frog, I can't believe I just said that. His other partner is a weapons expert named Scotty. Now with that said, what country do you think Scotty comes from? Is he from A, Germany, B, the United States, C, the Republic of Circassia, or D, Scotland? If you answer D,
no skip!
Thank you, Audrey 2. Remember kids, if you don't want to get in trouble with your parents for swearing, have giant carnivorous plants do the swearing for you. That's the American way.
Well, I don't have any concealed weapons.
I thought I saw a weighty flash. I did see a weighty flash. Tweety makes a good point. What the hell was that for? I mean, I'm not criticizing it because of its inappropriateness. Believe me, you'd have to have the brains of the PTC to do that. It's just that, well, what motivates her to do something like that anyway? She just met the guy, there are other people right beside them, and he's a giant talking frog. Seriously, in what movie do you find it plausible to have for a woman to have the hots for a frog? That doesn't count. So as the three set out to solve the case, I would like to take the time to comment on how odd it is to see that Freddie's car has a face and mind of its own. But I want to keep the weirdness levels down, so let's just move on, okay? So Freddie takes the rest of the gang to the horse races. Why? According to Freddie, it's because the horse races are a popular hangout for spies. A statement which proved to be accurate as Freddie is cornered by some minutes later.
We have a message for you, F.R.O.7. And the message is... death!
Well, you better give me the message.
I'm the only one that finds it ironic that the guy that played Gandhi is now suddenly beating the crap out of people.
He's escaped. We must report. Leader reporting to El Supremo. Leader reporting to El Supremo.
Dude, I don't think this is a very good time for ordering a pizza. Actually, he was making contact with the man behind the mystery, a big fat guy working with Messina to take over the world named El Supremo. And wouldn't you know it, he's played by Brian Blessed. And much like his other roles, the performance is over the top, hammy, and hell of a lot of fun. He informs his minions of their next target, Big Ben, as Freddie eavesdrops on the whole conversation. Because he wants to keep a low profile on the situation, Freddie lies to Daffers and Scotty, saying that the bad guys are planning on striking Windsor Castle next, even though he could easily tell the truth and request to handle the case himself, and therefore carrying out his plan without losing the trust of his comrades. My god, this movie makes no sense. Is there anything that can redeem it? Is this what I think it is?
Oh, my lovely.
Yes. Yes, it is. I think it is.
Romania.
Hallelujah.
I'm gonna rule your world.
Now, for those who didn't see my Bell and Song Countdown, I'll give you a brief summary of why I enjoy this song so much. Not only is the song a lot of fun to listen to, but it shows Messina killing soldiers as she sings and dances among dancing, roller skating Nazis and the KKK. Though, to be fair, we were expecting the KKK to show up after we saw those racist crows, but still, what the hell? Also, do El Supremo's interactions with Messina seem a little awkward? I mean, maybe it's justified because she's really a human, but every scene they share together, she's always in her cobra form. So does that mean he has a snake fetish? Seriously, don't we already have enough awkward interspecies romance with Freddie and Daffers? Anyway, Freddie takes his comrades to Big Ben and reveals the truth of El Supremo's plans, much to their disappointment. But all of a sudden, El Supremo's giant snake ship comes in to take the tower away, as the rest of the British Secret Services attempt to guard Windsor Castle. Again, Freddie, why did you lie to everybody? If you would have just told them the truth and asked to take on the case alone, you could still do what you wanted without angering any of your teammates. Oh well, I guess you can't expect much from a guy who's been a frog for hundreds of years without even trying to change himself back into a human form. So, Freddie and the team make their way to the island hideout of El Supremo and Messina, who discover their presence and confront them 3 seconds later.
Ah! Welcome, F.R.O.7. A long way from
Wait, what? What was the point of that? Did she not think that Messina... Did she not be... maybe she was doing a Judge Doom.
Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother, I talked. Yes!
So El Supremo reveals their plans of using the stolen landmarks to take over the world by shrinking them down and using them to power a giant crystal that will unleash a sleeping virus onto the world. That defies several laws of science and simple logic, but okay.
Invasion, defeat, and slavery will follow.
Can I just hear that one line again? I just love that one line.
Invasion, defeat, and slavery will follow.
That line alone pretty much just sums up why I love Brian Brust's performance. It's so over the top, it's so hammy, and it is just so much fun. I love every single bit of it. So Freddie and Scotty are thrown into the ocean while Daffers is supposedly hypnotized into being one of El Supremo's henchmen. Now I don't want to spoil anything, but it doesn't work. Luckily, Nessie manages to come to the rescue and return Scotty to dry land, while Freddie is introduced to Nessie's family. Yeah, apparently there's not one, but many Loch Ness monsters. And then she has a musical number.
I'm such a shy girl. I never was one for having much fun.
Excuse me, ma'am, but would you mind stopping? I mean, you're not that you're a bad singer, but it's just that there's this big fat guy and he's about to enslave the world. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Your musical number is way more important than the people of Earth being enslaved. Thankfully, Nessie and her family finally managed to help Freddie out by sinking the submarines. While that's going on, Freddie and Scotty manage to get Daffers back to normal as they attempt to destroy the giant crystal and fight off the guards. With their power source destroyed, El Supremo decides to go mano-a-mano with Freddie, but is thwarted as through a series of mishaps he is shrunk and hang on Big Ben. But there's still the final battle between Freddie and Messina, but as Messina is the one who gets the short end of the stick as she is turned into a buzzard and sent flying. So, in the end, the landmarks of England are returned to their proper places, Freddie is declared a hero, and everybody lives happily ever after. Well, that's all I can say about Freddie as F.R.O.7, and if you thought Twice Upon a Time was the weirdest movie we could ever see in our lives, you were wrong. Very, very wrong. Overall, Freddie as F.R.O.7 is another one of those films that just make you wonder just what drugs are taken during the production of it. Much of the story just makes you go what the hell every 5 minutes, and the vast number of plot holes makes it obvious that the story was not thought out very well. But strangely, it's the weirdness that makes it really enjoyable. It's one of those films that's just so bizarre and unusual that it actually creates a positive response from its viewers. And on top of that, the animation is decent, the voice acting is well picked, and the villains are a hell of a lot of fun. But please, if you wish to see this, try to find the original UK version. The American re-edit isn't terrible, but James Earl narration is completely unnecessary, and what they did to Messina's song is unforgivable. My final grade, B-. Well, that's my show for today, and wait a minute, it's almost December. You know what that means? I get to review a Christmas special. Oh boy. I was wondering why this came in today. Alright, let's see what I get to review next month.